The gardens of Station Kepler 5 were beautiful in the afternoon light. Artificial sunlight filtered through crystal trees, casting rainbow patterns on the white stone paths. Hana sat under one of these trees, her back against the smooth trunk, trying to focus on her tactical training manual. The words kept blurring together. She had been studying for 6 hours straight, and her brain felt like mush. She set the tablet down and closed her eyes, listening to the quiet sounds around her. Water trickling from the fountain, soft chittering from some Delthian cadets near the flower beds, the hum of the station's life support systems, so constant she barely noticed it anymore. This was her favorite spot on the entire station. Peaceful, calm, a place where she could think. Hana had been at the Galactic Union Military Academy for 3 months now. 3 months of learning to work with dozens of different species, each one strange and wonderful in their own way. The Delthians with their feathers and quick movements, the Korthans with their 6 arms and musical voices, the Tefrans who communicated through color changes on their skin. It was amazing, really. All these different people coming together to train as soldiers, diplomats, and explorers. But something had been bothering her lately. Something she could not quite name. It was the way other species moved around certain instructors, the way they would go silent when Instructor Cadets walked by, the way their bodies would tense, their eyes would dart to the exits, their hands would move to their emergency beacons. Kaveth was Vrexen. The Vrexen were new to the Galactic Union, and they were different from every other species in one important way. They were predators. Real predators, not omnivores who ate some meat like the Korthans, not scavengers like the Eulith. Actual hunt-and-kill predators with claws and teeth and instincts that had kept them at the top of their planet's food chain for millions of years. Hana found them fascinating. The way they moved was so efficient, so purposeful. Every step had meaning. Every glance took in information. They never wasted energy. Kaveth was beautiful in a dangerous way, like a knife or a storm. 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales that looked like armor, with amber eyes that missed nothing, but everyone else was terrified of her. Even the human cadets, Hana's own people, gave Kaveth a wide berth. Jiho would not make eye contact with any of the Vrexen instructors. Taeyang spoke to them with careful, formal politeness like someone handling explosives. Yuna had admitted quietly that her hands shook when she had to do combat training with Kaveth watching. Hana did not feel that fear. She wondered if something was wrong with her. Should she be scared? Everyone else was scared. Even the other instructors, the prey species who had been in the military for decades, treated the Vrexen with careful caution. Not disrespect, never disrespect, but fear, always fear. The thing was, Hana had studied animal behavior back on Earth before joining the military. She had spent 2 years working with a wildlife rehabilitation center, helping injured animals recover and return to the wild. She had worked with predators before, bears, wolves, big cats, even a few crocodiles, and she had learned something important during that time. Predators were not evil. They were not monsters. They were just animals with different instincts, different needs, different ways of seeing the world. If you understood their body language, if you respected their nature, if you did not act like prey, they would treat you differently. Not as food, as something else. Something interesting. She had seen it in Kaveth's eyes once during a training exercise. Hana had been the only cadet who did not flinch when Kaveth demonstrated a combat technique. She had watched with interest, noting how Kaveth's weight shifted, how her claws extended and retracted, how her tail balanced her movements. And Kaveth had noticed Hana noticing. For just a moment, their eyes had met, and something had passed between them. Recognition, maybe. Or curiosity. A sound pulled Hana from her thoughts. A soft rustling in the bushes to her left. She turned her head slowly, not wanting to startle whatever it was, probably just one of the maintenance bots. They were always trimming and watering the plants, but it was not a maintenance bot. A small face poked out from behind a flowering shrub, scaled green, with bright orange eyes that were way too big for the face. A Vrexen face. A young Vrexen face Hana's breath caught. This was a juvenile, a cub, maybe 3 or 4 years old in Vrexen years, which would be like 6 or 7 in human years. What was a Vrexen cub doing in the cadet gardens? The family quarters were on the other side of the station. The cub emerged from the bushes fully. She was already as big as Hana, maybe bigger. Her scales were a lighter green than the adults, almost lime-colored, and her claws looked brand new and very sharp. Her tail swished back and forth as she looked around the garden with obvious delight. Then those orange eyes locked onto Hana. The cub froze. Her pupils expanded until they swallowed most of the orange. Her body lowered into a crouch. Her tail went still, just the tip twitching. Her little frills, the equivalent of ears, perked forward with intense focus. Hana knew this posture. She had seen it 1,000 times in cats, in dogs, in wolf cubs at the rehabilitation center. This was play behavior, stalk and pounce. The cub had spotted something interesting and was preparing to investigate in the way young predators do. Through play hunting, Hana was about to be pounced on by a Vrexin cub. She found the thought delightful. This would be interesting. She stayed very still, watching the cub watch her. Around the garden, other cadets were going about their business. No one had noticed yet. No one had seen the small predator preparing to strike. The cub's haunches wiggled. Her front legs shifted. Her eyes tracked Hana's every tiny movement. Hana could almost see the calculation happening in that young mind. Distance, trajectory, speed. All the things a predator needed to know for a successful hunt. Except this was not a hunt. This was a game. Hana smiled. She kept her body relaxed, her hands visible, her posture non-threatening. She wanted to see what the cub would do. She wanted to play too. It had been a long time since she had roughhoused with anything. Not since leaving Earth. Not since saying goodbye to her cousin's dog, a big goofy retriever who loved to play fight and never hurt anyone. The cub's tail gave one last twitch. And then she pounced. The world went sideways as the Vrexin cub slammed into Hana. Small but powerful paws hit her shoulders, and suddenly Hana was on her back in the grass, with a very excited young predator standing on her chest. The cub let out a high-pitched snarl, showing rows of very sharp baby teeth. Her breath smelled like meat and something spicy. Hana felt joy bubble up in her chest. She grinned wide, showing her own teeth, and growled back. Not a scared sound. Not a human scream, a growl. Deep and throaty and playful. The kind of sound she used to make when wrestling with dogs. The kind of sound that said, "I accept your challenge," in the universal language of predators at play. The cub's eyes went wide with surprise. Her frills flattened against her head, then perked up again. She made a chirping sound, almost like a question. Then she play-bit Hana's arm, not breaking the skin, just mouthing it the way puppies do. Testing, learning, playing. Hana laughed. A real laugh, full of delight. She pushed back against the cub, rolling them both over so they tumbled across the grass. The cub was heavier than she looked, solid muscle under those soft young scales. But she was also gentle, in the way young predators are when they know they are playing. Her claws were out, but she was not using them to hurt, just to grip, just to wrestle. "You are so strong," Hana said, her voice warm. She found the spot under the cub's jaw and scratched. The cub's eyes half closed in pleasure, and she made a rumbling sound like a purr but deeper. Hana tried behind the frills next. The cub melted, her tail thumping against the ground. That was when Hana became aware of the silence. The total, complete silence that had fallen over the garden. She looked up, still scratching the happy cub, and saw that every single person in the garden was staring at her, more than staring, frozen. Completely and utterly frozen. Jiho stood on a path 50 meters away, his mouth open, his eyes huge. Taeyang was next to him, one hand hovering over his emergency beacon but not quite touching it. Yuna was by the fountain, her face pale, her body rigid like she had turned to stone. The two Delthian cadets near her had their personal shields activated, the shimmer of energy surrounding them like soap bubbles. Commander Velith, a Corfin instructor with 6 arms and kind eyes, was in the middle of a botany lesson with a group of cadets. All of them were staring. All of them looked like they were watching something horrible happen. Someone about to die. Someone being eaten alive. Hana realized how this must look to them. A Vrexin, even a young one, on top of a human. Snarling, biting. The human covered in grass stains and probably some scratches. They thought she was being attacked. They thought she was going to be killed. "It's okay," Hana called out, her voice bright and unconcerned. "We are just playing. She is friendly." No one moved. No one seemed to believe her. Their translators were probably telling them that Hana was making aggressive sounds, that the cub was displaying dominance, that this was a predator-prey interaction about to turn deadly. The cub, sensing the tension, looked around at all the staring people. She pressed closer to Hana, suddenly uncertain. Her frills flattened. She was picking up on the fear in the air the way all animals do, and it was making her nervous. "Hey, it is all right," Hana murmured to her, going back to the scratching. "They are just worried. They do not understand that we are having fun." The cub chirped again and licked Hana's face with a tongue that felt like sandpaper. Hana laughed and wiped her cheek. Okay, I get it. You like me too." Heavy footsteps, fast and getting faster. Hana looked up to see a full-grown Vrexen running toward them. Not just any Vrexen. Instructor Kaveth, the cub's mother. And Kaveth looked terrified, actually terrified. Her scales were raised, her eyes were wild, her claws were fully extended. Every other species in the garden scattered. Cadets ran for the exits. The Delthians launched themselves into the air, their wings flapping frantically. Commander Valeth herded students away, all 6 arms spread wide to protect them. Even Jiho and Taeyang backed up, though they did not run. They stayed watching, ready to help but clearly scared. Kaveth arrived like a storm. She was 8 feet of armored muscle and maternal panic. She stopped 5 feet away, her chest heaving, her eyes locked on Hana and the cub. Hana could see her trying to assess the situation. Blood? No. Injuries? Not visible. The human alive? Yes, the human smiling. What? "Kresh," Kaveth said, her voice tight. The translator turned it into standard, but Hana could hear the Vrexen underneath. The tone of a parent seeing their child in danger. "Come here now." The cub, Kresh, looked between her mother and Hana. She chirped sadly. She did not want to stop playing. This new friend was fun. This new friend understood the games. Hana understood the situation instantly. Kaveth thought Kresh had attacked someone. Kaveth thought her daughter had just destroyed any chance of the Vrexen being accepted into the Galactic Union. Kaveth thought she was looking at a diplomatic disaster. Hana gently pushed Kresh off her lap and stood up. She brushed grass off her uniform. She had some dirt on her face and her hair was a mess, but she was completely fine. Not a scratch, not a bite mark, nothing. She smiled at Kaveth and used a Vrexen greeting posture she had seen in training videos. Relaxed shoulders, open hands. "Steady eye contact, Instructor Kaveth," Hana said clearly, making sure everyone could hear. "Your daughter is wonderful. She has excellent play instincts and very good bite control for her age. You have trained her well." Kaveth stared. Just stared. Her mouth opened slightly. Her frills moved through several positions that Hana did not know the meaning of. For a long moment, the instructor said nothing at all. "You were not afraid," Kaveth finally said. Not a question. A statement. An observation of something that made no sense. "No," Hana said simply. She wanted to play. "I like playing. Why would I be afraid?" "She has claws," Kaveth said slowly, like explaining something to a child. "She has teeth. She is Vrexen. She is Predator. She is a baby," Hana replied. "A baby who was playing. I know the difference between play and hunting." Her body language was very clear. She was not aggressive. She was curious and playful. Commander Veleth approached cautiously, staying far from Kaveth. His voice was shaky. "Cadet Hana, you could have been seriously hurt. Young Vrexen have killed adult Corphans by accident during play. Their natural weapons are extremely dangerous. You should have called for help immediately." Hana looked at the commander with genuine confusion. "But she was not trying to hurt me. She was trying to play. I know how to play with predators. I grew up around them on Earth." "Grew up around predators?" Veleth repeated, his translator struggling with the concept. "Earth has predators? Dangerous ones?" "Yes," Hana said, still confused about why this was confusing. "Lots of them: bears, wolves, big cats, crocodiles, sharks, many kinds. Some of them are very dangerous, yes, but if you understand their behavior, you can be safe around them. I worked with them for years." The garden had gone very quiet again. Everyone was listening now, staring at Hana like she had just said she could breathe underwater or fly. Jiho spoke up from where he stood with Taeyang. His voice was uncertain. "Hana, I think most species do not have predators on their homeworlds." "Not like Earth does," Hana blinked. "What? But every planet has predators. That is basic ecology. You need predators to balance the ecosystem." "Not like yours," Taeyang said quietly. "Most worlds, the predators are small. Or they hunt insects. Or they went extinct before the species became intelligent. Earth is unusual. Very unusual." Hana looked around at all the prey species staring at her, at their wide eyes and tense bodies, at the way they were standing as far from Kaveth as possible. Understanding started to dawn. Cold and strange. You have never played with predators, she said slowly. Any of you. You have never roughhoused or play-fought. You have never learned to read predator body language for friendly intent because you have never needed to. No species plays with predators, Commander Velith said, his voice gentle like he was explaining something sad. Predators kill. That is their nature. We respect them. We give them space, but we do not play with them. That would be suicide. Hana looked down at Kresh, who was still sitting next to her, tail wagging hopefully. The cub chirped and bumped her head against Hana's leg. Wanting more scratches, more play, more fun. She is not trying to kill anyone, Hana said softly. She is just a kid who wants to play. Kaveth's voice was very quiet when she spoke. You are the first person who has ever seen that. The first person who has ever looked at my daughter and seen a child instead of a monster. The weight of those words settled over the garden. Hana looked at Kaveth and saw something in those amber eyes. Relief, gratitude, and something that might have been hope. The next 3 days were strange. Very strange. Hana had become famous without meaning to. Video of her playing with Kresh had spread through the entire station. Every cadet, every instructor, every staff member had seen it. A human roughhousing with a Vrexen cub. Growling and laughing. Not afraid, not hurt, just playing. The reactions were divided. Some species looked at Hana with fear now, like they had discovered something dangerous about her. Others looked at her with curiosity, asking questions she did not know how to answer. A few, mostly the other humans, looked at her with something like recognition, like she had revealed a truth they had been trying to ignore. On the second day, Commander Velith called a special meeting, not just for cadets, for everyone. The assembly hall was packed with over 300 people from 60 different species. Hana sat with her squad, feeling very small and very visible. Jiho kept glancing at her. Yuna was reading something on her tablet, frowning. Taiyang sat very still, his face neutral. We have called this assembly to discuss an important matter, Commander Velith said from the podium. His 6 arms gestured in patterns that meant seriousness and honesty in Corfin body language. The incident 3 days ago with Cadet Hana and the Vrexen juvenile has raised questions. Questions about humanity. Questions we should have asked long ago. A hologram appeared above the podium. Earth. Beautiful blue and green and white, floating in space. Hana felt her chest tighten. Home. She had not been home in 6 months. Earth is what we call a death world, Velith continued. High gravity, extreme weather, violent geological activity. But these factors are not uncommon. Many homeworlds have harsh conditions. What makes Earth unique is its ecosystem, specifically, its predators. The hologram changed. Now it showed animals, a lion, a great white shark, a grizzly bear, a wolf pack, a saltwater crocodile, an eagle. The assembly made sounds of shock and fear. Delthians fluttered their wings nervously. Corfins pulled their limbs closer to their bodies. Even species Hana did not recognize were showing signs of distress. Earth has more apex predators than any known world in the Galactic Union, Velith said. Predators on land and water in the air, predators that hunt in packs, predators that hunt alone, predators that can kill prey many times their own size. And humans evolved alongside all of them. The hologram changed again. Now it showed humans, ancient humans, hunting with spears, running across plains, tracking animals for days. The images were primitive but clear. Humans were not hiding from the predators. They were not running away. They were hunting too. We have made an error in classification, Velith said quietly. We assumed that because humans are social, cooperative, and empathetic, they must be prey species. We were wrong. Humans are predators, apex predators. They are at the top of their world's food chain. The assembly exploded with noise, people talking over each other, translators struggling to keep up. Hana heard words like impossible and dangerous and why didn't we know? Jiho was staring at the hologram. Yuna had stopped reading. Taeyang had his head in his hands. A Delthian cadet stood up, his feathers ruffled with agitation. If humans are predators, why are they here? Why did we let them into the Union? Why are we training them as soldiers? They could turn on us. Commander Velith raised 2 arms for silence. Please. Let me finish. Yes, humans are predators. But they are not like the Vrexin. They are something we have never seen before. They are predators who built a prey species society. More holograms. Human cities. Human art. Human music. Human families. Human children playing together. Laughing, sharing. Human hospitals where people cared for strangers. Human schools where knowledge was shared freely. Human governments built on cooperation and law. Humans hunt, yes, Velith said. But they also farm. They domesticated other species not to eat them, but to live with them. They keep predators as companions. They have dogs, which are descended from wolves. They have cats, which are descended from ambush hunters. They invite predators into their homes and call them family. Hana thought about her cousin's dog Bori, big and goofy and gentle. She thought about the barn cat at her grandmother's farm, a fierce little hunter who also purred on laps and begged for scratches. She had never thought of them as strange. But looking around the assembly hall, seeing the shock on everyone's faces, she realized they were strange. Very strange. What kind of species befriends their natural competitors? Humans are both, a new voice said. Everyone turned. Instructor. Kaveth stood near the back of the hall, Kresh sitting quietly beside her. Kaveth rarely spoke at assemblies. Prey species found her presence disturbing. But now she walked forward, and people moved out of her way like water around a stone. Humans are predators and prey both, Kaveth continued. Her accent was thick, but her standard was clear. They have forward eyes for hunting. They have teeth for tearing meat. They have endurance for chasing prey until it collapses. These are predator traits. My people recognize them. She stopped near the podium, her amber eyes scanning the crowd. But they also have prey traits. They form large groups. They build communities. They care for their weak and injured. They share food. They teach their young together. They cry when others suffer. These are not predator behaviors. Predators are solitary. Predators are selfish. Predators do not weep for strangers. Kresh chirped and pressed against her mother's leg. Kaveth rested a clawed hand on her daughter's head. The gesture was so tender, so loving, that several people gasped. They had never seen a Vrexin show affection before. When Kresh played with Cadet Hana, I was terrified, Kaveth said quietly. I thought my daughter had attacked someone. I thought she had proved what everyone fears about my kind, that we are monsters who cannot control our instincts. But Cadet Hana did not see a monster. She saw a child, because she understands both sides, the predator side and the prey side. She speaks both languages. Hana felt her face heating up. Everyone was looking at her again. She wanted to sink into her chair and disappear. A xenobiology. Professor stood up, a Tefrin whose skin was flashing colors that meant deep thought. If humans are apex predators with prey species social structures, this changes everything. They are not dangerous to us by instinct. They do not see us as food. They see us as pack members, as community. This is why they integrated so easily into the Union. We thought they were like us, but actually they are something entirely new. What does this mean for the Academy? Someone called out. For training? For combat? Commander Velith's frills rippled thoughtfully. It means we have been underutilizing human cadets. They have abilities we did not recognize. They understand predator tactics naturally. They can read aggressive body language. They are comfortable with direct confrontation. And most importantly, they can work with the Vrexin in ways no other species can. Kaveth nodded. My people have been isolated here, respected but feared. We train your soldiers in combat, but they are too afraid to truly learn from us. They see us as threats even during teaching. But human cadets do not have this fear. Cadet Jiho looked me in the eyes yesterday during training. Direct eye contact, no fear, no challenge, just attention. Do you understand what this means to my kind? To finally be seen as people and not as walking nightmares? Jiho shifted uncomfortably in his seat. I didn't think it was a big deal. You were explaining something I wanted to understand. That is the point, Kaveth said, and there was something like sadness in her voice. For you it was not a big deal. For every other species looking a Rexin in the eyes is an act of either submission or challenge. But for humans it is just how you communicate. You do not know how precious that is, how lonely we have been. The assembly was silent now. Really silent. People were thinking, processing, understanding something important. Yuna spoke up suddenly. I play-fought with my brother all the time when we were kids. We would wrestle and compete, and sometimes we would actually hurt each other by accident. But it was fun. It made us closer. I never thought about it as predator behavior. I just thought it was normal sibling stuff. I used to play a game called tag with friends, Taeyang added slowly. One person chases everyone else. If they catch you, you become the chaser. It is a hunting game. We were practicing pursuit and escape for fun. Human sports are combat training, Jiho said, realization dawning on his face. Football, rugby, martial arts. We compete aggressively. We tackle and hit and fight, but within rules. It is controlled violence. It is predator behavior made into play. Hana listened to her friends work through this and felt strange. Her whole life, she had been human. Just human. Normal. But normal for humans meant something very different in the galaxy. It meant being able to look at a predator and see a person. It meant being able to play fight without actually wanting to hurt anyone. It meant understanding that a snarl could be a greeting and showing teeth could be a smile. So what now? A cadet called out. What do we do with this information? Commander Velith looked at Kaveth. Kaveth looked at Hana, and Hana, feeling very small and very important at the same time, stood up. We learn from each other, she said. Her voice shook a little but grew stronger. Predator species can teach us combat skills. We can teach them cooperation skills. Prey species can teach us strategy. We can teach them confidence around predators. Everyone has something valuable. 2 weeks after the assembly, the academy looked different. Not physically, but in the way people moved through it. Small changes that added up to something big. Hana watched from the observation deck as Jiho practiced hand-to-hand combat with instructor Kaveth in the training ring below. A month ago, this would have been impossible. Jiho would have been too nervous, making mistakes, unable to focus. But now he moved with confidence, blocking and striking. Actually learning instead of just surviving the lesson. When Kaveth corrected his stance, he did not flinch. He adjusted and tried again. He is getting better, Yuna said, appearing beside Hana with 2 cups of tea. She handed one to Hana. Last week he could not last 30 seconds. Today he lasted almost 5 minutes before Kaveth pinned him. She is going easier on him than she would on a Rexin student, Hana observed. See how she is pulling her strikes? She hits hard enough to teach, but not hard enough to actually hurt. She is being gentle. That is still terrifying from where I am standing, Yuna admitted, but I understand it better now. She is not trying to hurt him. She is teaching him to be a better fighter. The aggression is part of the lesson, not a threat. Below, Kaveth helped Jiho to his feet after the final pin. She was speaking to him, probably explaining what he did wrong. Jiho was nodding, listening carefully. Then Kaveth made a gesture that Hana recognized as Rexin approval, a quick flash of claws that meant well done. Jiho grinned and made an awkward attempt at the same gesture back. Kaveth's frills lifted in what might have been amusement. I have been thinking about what Commander Velith said, Yuna continued quietly, about humans being both predator and prey. I looked into Earth's history. Did you know that humans used to be prey? Before we learned to make weapons and use fire, we were hunted by big cats and other predators. We were in the middle of the food chain, not the top. Hana nodded. I learned about that in school. Early humans had to be smart to survive. We could not outrun the predators or outfight them. So we got creative. We made tools. We worked together. We learned to think ahead. That is why we are different from species like the Vrexen, Yuna said thoughtfully. They were always predators. They never had to fear being eaten. But we did. We remember being prey, so we kept the social behaviors, the cooperation, the empathy. We needed those things to survive. But we also learned to hunt, to fight, to think like predators. We became both. It is strange, Hannah said softly. All my life I just thought of myself as human, normal. But now I see we are unique in the galaxy. We are the only species that understands both sides naturally. A chirping sound interrupted them. Hannah turned to see Kresh bounding up the corridor, her claws clicking on the metal floor. Behind her, walking at a more sedate pace, was another Vrexen instructor named Wraith. He was older than Kaveth, with scars on his scales and gray around his eyes. Hannah, Kresh called out in her high, excited voice. Her standard was getting better every day. Play now, please? Hannah laughed. I am supposed to study for my navigation exam, Kresh, maybe later. Kresh's frills drooped sadly. She made a small whining sound. Yuna tensed slightly beside Hannah, old instincts reacting to predator distress sounds, but she did not move away. Progress. How about this? Hannah offered. You help me study for 30 minutes, sitting quietly and being good. Then we can play for 30 minutes, deal? Kresh's frills perked up immediately. Deal, I be very good. Very quiet. She plopped down right there in the corridor, her tail wrapping around her feet, her eyes bright with determination to earn playtime. Instructor Wraith approached, his movements slow and non-threatening. Cadet Hannah, Cadet Yuna, I hope Kresh is not bothering you. Not at all, sir, Hannah said. She is good company when I study. Asks interesting questions. Wraith's frills moved in a pattern Hannah had learned meant surprised pleasure. You are patient with her. More patient than I expected from any non-Vrexen. She speaks of you constantly. Hannah this, Hannah that. You have made an impression. She is sweet, Hannah said simply. I enjoy spending time with her. Sweet, Wraith repeated slowly like the word was foreign. That is not a word typically used for Vrexen young. Usually it is dangerous or aggressive or difficult to control. She is energetic, Hannah acknowledged. And yes, she has sharp parts. But she is also curious and affectionate and learning how to be gentle with species that are more fragile than her own. That takes intelligence and emotional control. She is doing great. Wraith stared at Hannah for a long moment. Then he did something Hannah had never seen a Vrexen do in public. He lowered his head, a gesture of deep respect. Thank you for seeing us as people. For teaching others to do the same. You have given us something we did not know we needed. Hope. Hannah felt her throat tighten. She bowed back, a human gesture of respect. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. For being patient while we learn. That cannot be easy. After Wraith left, Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I never thought about how lonely they must be. The Vrexen. Always feared. Always avoided. Never truly welcomed anywhere. Yeah, Hannah said softly. She sat down next to Kresh and pulled out her tablet. Okay, little one. Navigation lesson. Can you show me which star system we are in right now? Kresh leaned over to look at the star map, her tail wagging with concentration. She tapped a claw carefully on the screen, mindful not to scratch it. This one. Kepler system. Perfect. And which direction is Earth from here? The days continued like that, small changes building into bigger ones. Human cadets started volunteering to work with Vrexen instructors. At first it was just Hannah's squad, but others followed. Mingyu, a quiet human from the engineering track, discovered he had a talent for understanding Vrexen technology design. Soman, a medical student, began studying Vrexen biology with fascination instead of fear. More importantly, other species started watching and learning. If humans could interact safely with Vrexen, maybe they could too. A brave Delthian cadet named Chirik asked Kaveth a question directly for the first time. Kaveth answered patiently, keeping her body language as non-threatening as possible. Chirik did not fly away. He listened. He learned. The barriers were breaking down slowly but surely. The academy started offering new classes. Predator-prey communication taught by Hannah and Kaveth together. Cross-species combat tactics where humans demonstrated how to work alongside Vrexen effectively. Understanding aggression in military context where the difference between threat displays and actual threats was explained carefully. But not everyone was happy about the changes. Some cadets, especially from species that had suffered predator attacks in their distant history, remained deeply uncomfortable. They avoided the Vrexen instructors. They refused to take the new classes. They whispered that humans could not be trusted, that they were predators hiding in prey clothing. Hana tried not to let it bother her. Change was hard. Fear was natural, but sometimes the looks bothered her more than she wanted to admit. She had never thought of herself as dangerous before. Now some people looked at her like she was a loaded weapon that might go off at any moment. Ignore them, Taeyang told her one evening in the mess hall. They will come around eventually. Or they will not, and that is their choice. You cannot force people to stop being afraid. I know, Hana said, pushing her food around her plate. It just feels wrong. We are all supposed to be on the same team. We are, Jiho said firmly. Most people are adapting. The ones who are not are a small minority. And honestly, their prejudice is their problem, not yours. You have not done anything wrong. Across the mess hall, Kavith entered with Kresh and 2 other Vrexen instructors. The usual ripple of tension went through the room. Some cadets moved away. Others pretended not to notice. But a growing few, nodded in greeting. One even waved. Kavith's eyes found Hana's across the crowd. The instructor inclined her head in acknowledgement. Hana smiled and waved back. Kresh, spotting Hana, made an excited chirping sound and had to be gently restrained by her mother from running over. She really loves you, Yuna observed with amusement. You have acquired a very large, very scaly little sister. Could be worse, Hana said, grinning. Could be a very large, very scaly teenager. I hear Vrexen adolescence is intense, they all laughed. It felt good. Normal. Like they were just cadets sharing a meal. Not members of a predator species navigating complex interspecies politics. Later that night, Hana was walking back to her quarters when she heard voices from a training room. The door was partially open, light spilling into the corridor. She paused, recognizing one of the voices. Commander Velith, the integration is proceeding better than expected, he was saying. Human cadets have become natural bridges between Vrexian instructors and prey species students. Stress levels during training have decreased 30%. Combat effectiveness has increased 18%. The Vrexen report feeling more accepted than at any previous posting. But, another voice asked. Hana recognized it as the station commander, an elderly Corfin named Velis. But we need to prepare for what comes next, Velith said quietly. This academy is controlled environment. Everyone here is military, disciplined, educated. But humanity is seeking full membership in the Galactic Union. When human civilians start traveling to other worlds, interacting with populations who have never met a predator species, there will... The alarm woke Hana from deep sleep. Not the gentle morning alarm, the emergency alarm. Red lights flashing, a harsh siren that meant danger. Real danger. She was out of bed and in her uniform in less than 2 minutes, her training taking over. Her comm unit buzzed, Taeyang's voice calm but urgent. All cadets report to assembly points. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Station is under attack. Hana's heart hammered as she ran through the corridors. Other cadets were emerging from their quarters, some still half asleep, others wide-eyed with fear. The station shuddered. Something had hit the outer hull. An explosion, distant but real. The assembly point for her section was the main training hall. When she arrived, it was chaos. Hundreds of cadets milling around, instructors trying to organize them, everyone talking at once. Hana found her squad near the west wall. Jiho looked pale. Yuna was checking her equipment with sharp, focused movements. Taeyang was listening to something on his comm. What's happening? Hana asked. Pirates, Taeyang said grimly. A whole fleet of them. They hit the outer defenses 15 minutes ago. Station defense forces are engaged, but they're outnumbered. The main defense fleet is an hour away. We have to hold until they arrive. Pirates attacking a military academy? Jiho's voice cracked. Are they insane? They think we are an easy target, a deep voice said. Instructor Kaveth approached, her scales dark with combat readiness. Training station? Mostly students. Limited defensive weapons. They expect quick surrender and valuable hostages. They are wrong, another voice added. Instructor Wraith joined them, followed by 3 more Vrexen instructors. We do not surrender. We defend. Commander Velith appeared on the raised platform at the front of the hall. Listen carefully. We have multiple hull breaches. Pirate boarding parties are entering the station at 7 different points. Our goal is to hold critical positions until the fleet arrives. You are cadets, not soldiers, but today you must fight like soldiers. The hall erupted in frightened chatter. Velith raised 4 arms for silence. We are organizing defensive teams. Mixed species groups with both instructors and advanced cadets. Follow your team leaders. Trust your training. Protect each other. The assignments came quickly. Hana found herself assigned to Team 7, defending Junction Point Delta, a critical corridor intersection that controlled access to life support and the reactor core. If pirates took that junction, they could threaten the whole station. Team 7 consisted of Kaveth as combat leader, Hana and Jiho as human cadets, Yuna as tactical coordinator, 2 Delthian cadets named Chirik and Vesa for tech support and shields, and a Corfin medic named Tellus. 7 people to hold a junction against an unknown number of attackers. They moved through the corridors at a jog, Kaveth leading. The station shuddered again. Closer this time. Hana could hear distant sounds. Energy weapons firing. Metal-tearing screams. This was really happening. They were really under attack. Junction Point Delta was a large open space where 4 corridors met, with high ceilings and multiple levels of catwalks. Good sightlines, but hard to defend without enough people. Kaveth assessed it quickly, her predator's eye for terrain taking in everything. Chirik Vesa set up shield generators at the north and south approaches. Tellus medical station in that alcove, protected but accessible. Jiho, take the east catwalk with the plasma rifle. Hana with me on ground level. Yuna, coordination position on west catwalk, you have overview. Everyone moved to their positions. Hana checked her weapon, a standard issue energy pistol. She had qualified with it in training but never fired it outside the range. Her hands were shaking. Kaveth noticed. Fear is natural, the Vrexen said quietly, crouching beside her behind a cargo container. Fear keeps you alert, but do not let it control you. Trust your instincts. Trust your training. Trust your pack. Hana looked at Kaveth, at those amber eyes that missed nothing and felt steadier. I trust you. Kaveth's frills lifted in approval. Good. When they come, they will be aggressive, fast, chaotic. Pirates do not fight with honor. They fight to win quickly. We fight to survive. Remember, you are not prey to them. You are a threat. Be a threat. The first attackers appeared in the north corridor 10 minutes later. 6 of them, mixed species wearing mismatched armor and carrying weapons that looked military-grade. Stolen, probably. They saw the junction and charged, expecting minimal resistance. The shield generators Chirik and Vesa had set up flared to life, blue energy walls blocking the corridor. The pirates slammed into them, surprised. That moment of confusion was all Jiho needed. His plasma rifle spoke from above, precise shots taking down 2 pirates before they could recover. The remaining 4 scattered, taking cover, returning fire. Energy bolts slashed through the air. Hana forced herself to stay calm, to aim carefully like in training. She fired, missed, fired again, hit 1 pirate in the shoulder. He went down cursing. South corridor, Yuna's voice over comms. 8 more incoming. Kaveth moved like liquid death. She crossed the junction in a blur, reaching the south approach before the pirates cleared the corner. Hana heard roaring, saw flashes of claws and teeth and scales. When the dust cleared, 3 pirates were down and the rest were retreating in panic. They did not expect real resistance, Yuna observed, her voice tight but controlled, especially not Vrexen resistance. They are regrouping. Next wave will be more coordinated. She was right. The next attack came from 2 directions simultaneously, better armed and better organized. The shield generators began to strain under sustained fire. Chirik was frantically rerouting power, his feathered crest flat with stress. Shields at 60%, he called out. Cannot hold much longer. A pirate in heavy armor broke through on the east side, his shield taking Jiho's shots without slowing. He aimed a large weapon at the catwalk, clearly intending to bring down the structure. Hana did not think. She moved, sprinted across the open junction and tackled the armored pirate from the side. It was like hitting a wall, but momentum was with her. They both went down hard. The pirate was bigger, stronger, his armor giving him every advantage. But Hana had spent weeks play fighting with Kresh. She knew how to fight someone bigger. Get close, stay low, use their strength against them. Find the weak points. She jammed her pistol against the gap between his helmet and chest plate and fired. The pirate went limp. Hana rolled away, breathing hard, amazed she was alive. Hana! Kaveth's voice was sharp with concern. Are you injured? I'm fine. Hana scrambled back to cover. Her heart was trying to pound out of her chest. I'm fine. The battle continued, wave after wave of attacks. The team held, barely. Tellus was constantly treating injuries. The shields failed. Chirik and Vesa had to fall back. Jiho took a graze to his arm but kept fighting. Yuna coordinated their defense with brilliant efficiency, calling out enemy positions and tactical suggestions. And through it all, Keveth was a force of nature, fast, precise, terrifying. Every pirate who got close to her regretted it. But she was also protective. Twice she positioned herself between injured team members and enemy fire. 3 times she called tactical warnings that saved lives. She fought like a predator but protected like a pack leader. Then the comms crackled. All teams be advised. We have a situation in Sector 7. Frexen family quarters have been breached. Civilians in danger. Repeat, civilians in danger. Kaveth froze. Just for a second. But Hana saw it. The way her frills went flat. The way her eyes went wide. Kresh, she whispered. Go, Hana said immediately. Kaveth looked at her in shock. I cannot leave my post. Go, Hana repeated firmly. Your daughter needs you. We can hold this junction, go! She is right, Yuna called from above. We have this position. Family comes first. Kaveth hesitated only a moment longer. Then she ran, faster than Hana had ever seen her move. Hana turned back to the junction and realized they were now down to 6 defenders. 6 defenders against an enemy that kept sending more attackers. Well, Jiho said from his catwalk, reloading his rifle. This is going to be interesting. It was more than interesting. It was brutal. Without Kaveth's combat power, they had to be smarter, more careful. Yuna directed them to collapse their defensive perimeter, giving up ground to create a tighter position that was easier to defend. Chirik and Vesa used the last of their equipment to set up impromptu traps. Tellus, despite being a medic, proved surprisingly good with a stun baton when pirates got too close. Hana lost track of time. Everything became a blur of shooting, moving, covering teammates, taking cover, shooting again. Her arms ached. Her ears rang. She had burns on her shoulder from a near miss and cuts on her face from shrapnel. But she kept fighting. Then she heard it. A sound that made her blood run cold. A Vrexen distress call, high-pitched and desperate, echoing through the corridors. Every prey species on the station would be paralyzed by that sound. Millions of years of instinct screaming, run, hide, a predator is in pain. But Hana did not freeze. That was Kresh's voice. She knew it. The cub was in trouble. Hana, no. Yuna shouted as Hana broke from cover and ran toward, but Hana was already gone, sprinting through corridors, following the distress call. She barely registered the destruction around her. The burned walls, the bodies, the smoke. All she could hear was Kresh crying. She found them in a service corridor. 3 pirates had Kresh cornered, separate.